Rooster, I thought they just got up with the sunshine and then they chilled for a minute and then they got back into roostering. I'm not sure. I feel like we will have a Southern guy that will be a Rooster insider in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Build a deck guy on the Dancing Rabbit golf text line 601-885-3776. Bowbounds Bartoo with you. You can find us on X at Bowbounds, and then the Stella Artois caller line is 601-707-3750. Bartoo is Matrix Analytical on Twitter. Is that right?
CFB Matrix on Twitter.
CFB Matrix.
Yep, CFB Matrix on Twitter.
Yeah, CFB Matrix on Twitter. We went to Kessler Prime last night. We had a good meal.
Delish.
We met with some P1s and good friends and just had a fun Whiskey 61 feast is what really that's what the brand was all about. Good friends, good drinks, and damn good steaks, a bunch of protein and so on. Oh, and Bartoo had soft shell crab.
Yeah.
He had fried soft shell. So that's not something they have all the time up in Portland, just like.
Yeah, I was like, order me something I can't get at home.
Right. And so the waiter was like, here's one of the specials. He dropped a soft shell crab on you, and it was fantastic.
It was delicious.
Yeah. What did you have, the New York strip or the filet?
No, New York strip.
So I don't usually go New York strip, and I usually go ribeye or filet. I like a New York strip, but that New York strip last night, I got at Pittsburgh Rare, and it was fantastic. So we had a good time there. So Diamond Dave and I will be, rolling here and Straight Funk, Jackson Meadows, for 3 hours. It's going to be a big time, big show, and then we'll do another 3 or 4 tomorrow, and then we're going to put this crazy you-know-what on a plane tomorrow afternoon because the Lovebirds have to go to Hawaii. So he's got to get out of here and enjoy the water and go skinny dipping out in the Pacific. So yesterday was the first day of SEC Media Days. Jackson, do you mind pulling up the list for today? I know you went over it with me, but I can't remember it. I just remember Lebby's in between Kiffin and Sark, which is hilarious. God bless him. I mean, I know Lebby's a good guy, but you talking about nobody caring. And yesterday, Drinkowitz actually was good. And Heupel got a little, I thought that was interesting what he said about Kiffin coming to Knoxville and loading up on mustard and golf balls.
He was having fun, though.
He was.
Right? He was having fun. And Greg was not having fun.
Greg Sankey was in a foul mood, and we love to see people either happy or mad. If you're just in between, it's not interesting. So Greg woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Even though he makes $10 million a year and gets to fly around on a private plane, which is great. But yeah, I think Sankey's trying to figure out, Bartoo, how this is all going to shake. We are going to expand the playoff. It's just a matter of when. Greg Sankey and the SEC don't want 24 teams. The Big Ten does want 24 teams. It sure sounds like the SEC wants to go to 16 and call it. Bartoo and I were talking this morning when I picked him up at the hotel, and Bartoo agrees with me. The G5 doesn't need to be in it. I recognize that we need a G5 Final Four, 2 semifinal games and a championship game. That'd be a ton of fun as playoffs. But we don't need Tulane and James Madison.
No, especially now with NIL. I mean, everything's watered down,
right?
And they've already pulled the decent. Most of the good G6s up, right?
Right.
We pulled
That's
up.
A good point.
We pulled up UCF. We pulled up Cincinnati, and I believe that too much of the time with college football is we look back on what was and expect that to be where it is today.
Right.
Like that Cincinnati team that went 12-0.
Yeah.
That still probably wasn't top 4, was awful damn good.
Right.
That kind of team in the G6 is never coming back through the door again.
Yeah, and they weren't.
It's impossible.
Even as good as they were for that time, they weren't good enough to be then.
Right. But to have that quality of a team in today's NIL, you can't do it.
That's right.
They do not have the money to keep those players.
No
way.
No.
Full stop.
No.
And so as much as I love the opportunity for them to be there, I don't want to watch it.
Right. No.
Right.
No.
Right. And it's like we talk about going to 24 games. I don't want to watch 8 and 4 teams either.
No, I'm with you.
Right. I don't need to see.
But if I am, I want them all to be P4.
I know, but I don't need to see Texas A&M as 8 and 4, having lost 1 out of every 3 games. Go play a playoff game. They already got beat. Go home. Knock it off. You know.
I will say this: 9 and 3 is. Well, if we don't go to 24 and we go to 16, 9 and 3 is going to get in from the SEC and the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Because we got to fill. Well, I'm sorry. If we extrapolate, if they take out the G5 teams, which will open up 1 or 2 spots more a year for the 4 conferences.
Right.
We're going to have 9 and 3 teams.
We have to.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the math.
We have to. Yeah. We're you look at the history of the top 25, and it's pretty rare that we get down to 8 and 4,
right.
and an 8 and 4 Auburn gets in. And
right.
it squeaks in the top 25.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to 8 and 4 teams, the 4-loss team is always an SEC team. That's the way the top 25 has always worked. It's gravitated toward that naturally.
About that.
Right? I don't think a lot of people realize this is that over the years, over the last 20 years, I think we'd all agree that really the best overall depth of football has been the SEC. Okay, I think it's a whole lot less so now, today, than it was before. I think a lot of the discussion of the strength of the conference is rooted in what it did in the past, not where it is today. But you look at the history of the top 25, the AP top 25, in the rare cases where there is an 8 and 4 team, there's a slot at the bottom, 24, 25. It's an 8 and 4 team. It's the SEC.
I can remember Ole Miss, Mississippi State, like Bartoo said, Auburn.
Right.
A&M teams coming in at 8 and 4. They had a real nice year, but they were going to finish 24th.
So subconsciously, all the voters are putting the better strength of schedule teams in there.
Sankey said he had an unsatisfactory phone call with the College Football Playoff Committee on what the 9 games should mean for the SEC. Bartoo and I back in a second. Golf Club tomorrow. Bo Bounds, Dave Bartoo with you. We have ice cream drinks with us too. He made it here. I can't believe it. He can't believe it. He has 3 nicknames on the show. Double Down, because at times he's a degenerate gambler.
Okay.
Ice cream drinks, because he drinks like he's pledging a sorority.
Yeah.
And Straight Funk, right. Because I don't remember how that one came about, but
he likes it.
He likes it.
Yeah. We give Jackson what he likes sometimes.
Right. That's right.
Even though he can't get to work on time.
No.
But man, what about him today?
I think he was here. That was close.
You were here kind of, was it early?
It was 7 minutes before the top of the hour. You said a minute to 2 minutes before the top of the hour.
Right, yeah,
he exceeded it by 300%.
Nice.
He really did.
Nice.
Just knocked it out of the park.
300X, man. That's what they call me.
All right, I did take a couple of notes last night.
Nice.
When we were at dinner. Okay.
Wait, so, I mean, I need to know more about what else did it? I mean, did y'all get a plethora? Was it just everything was there?
Well, we started with fried crab claws and tamales.
Well, that's a good start.
Yeah.
That's a real good start.
And some great conversation. And then everybody had steaks, different cuts. And no, Kendall went soft shell crab for the entree.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Bartoo got soft shell crab as a side with his New York strip.
Is that like a double up on the? Wait, what now? Hold on.
Yeah.
You got a whole soft shell crab on the side?
Well, they're
nice.
Just.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. A little cream spinach.
It's just like getting the bacon wraps. I mean, the bacon wrap shrimp's actually more filling than that.
It is.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's delicious, but it's
Did
good.
anyone order incorrect? Did anyone order something you shouldn't have ordered, or a way you shouldn't have ordered? Did anyone order above bar? Okay,
no, we had a bunch of we had a bunch of professionals.
Okay, good.
I'm not inviting amateurs to a Whiskey 61 feast.
No.
Damn rainbow trout.
we're not doing that. And then tonight he gets he can order whatever he wants, but obviously filet strip ribeye, but the bone-in ribeye at Philip M's is, and I got to get him a cup of saffron chowder to start. Even though it's hot,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because you know what, Philip M's the air conditioner will be pumping.
Always freezing in there.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Feels great.
It does.
I didn't have an Elijah Craig last night. May have to have one tonight just because Bartoo's in town. You know?
Yeah.
Manhattan or Old Fashioned, not sure yet. I've got 12 hours to decide. Bartoo and I will probably land in Philip M's about 5:15 this afternoon. And then we're going to rip at least 3, if not 4 hours tomorrow. All right, Diamond Dave. You know one thing that we brought up last night, I don't remember if it was you or John. I think y'all were in a back and forth, which is fun. Coaching unicorns. Were we talking about Mullen?
We were talking about Mullen.
Okay.
About that.
Okay.
And how his closest guy.
Yes.
Right? Because we went, for everybody who should tune into the YouTube channel, you and I did almost 2 hours yesterday.
God, we did.
Nonstop. One of the things that the database allows me to do is looking at coaches in a way I've never been able to on the fly. And we talked the unicorn, and what we talked about at the YouTube channel show yesterday had to do with coach effect and how Dan is one of only 2 guys. So since 2010, Dan Mullen is one of 2 head coaches to improve the coach effect in 3 consecutive stops. So when Dan showed up at Mississippi State, he improved it over the guy before him. Then his coach effect at Mississippi State compared to Florida, it was better at Florida. And albeit 1 year at UNLV, that 1 year at UNLV was better than Florida entire time. So he was plus coach effect, 3 consecutive stops at 3 consecutive programs. There's only one other guy since 2010. And this is why coaching is so hard, and college football is in general, is there isn't a guy that has gone up outside of Dan Mullen. There's one other guy that has gone improve. And that was Lane Kiffin.
And both of them coached in the state of Mississippi at rivals.
Nuts.
That's crazy.
Right? It is. And then you think about Lane and all of the trials and tribulations he's gone through as a head coach. He still improved. He had a negative coach effect before FAU at USC, but he improved USC over what was there before.
Yeah.
And then he gets to FAU, and obviously, after the first year, boom, takes off. Ole Miss, after the first year, boom, takes off even more. So it is extremely rare to have a head coach be able to do that, not just at one place. It takes a good coach to go from good to great and maintain it like Dan did at Mississippi State, like Lane did at Ole Miss and FAU and so forth. But to do it in 3 consecutive places, there's nobody else in the FBS that has done it.
Since 2010.
Since 2010, 16
Dan Mullen
years.
and Lane Kiffin, one who coached at Mississippi State, one at Ole Miss. What are the odds that they come through this state and both coach at different SEC schools within the state of Mississippi? Yeah. Bartoo and Jay Meadows. I mean, it's crazy. When you threw that out yesterday, I can't even believe this. I mean, so much of football, pro and college, runs through this state, just players and different things. But that's wild. So, yeah, 2 of the coaching unicorns in the state of Mississippi, without a doubt.
In college football, in all of college football.
Lane Kiffin and Dan Mullen.
Yeah. Now,
and both will always be a part of this state. They will always be part of the fabric. Their fingerprints will always be here. They will be mentioned forever in some way, shape, or form, whether people like them or don't like them. Yeah. They had an impact.
Yeah,
though.
the economic
impact. Now, as far as their hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of impact on Starkville and Oxford, that's insane. What Dan and Dak did, what Lane and Corral/Dart and Trinidad did, good gosh. And it was at the right time with new media and more access and more streaming and all that. You get every single game, even when you play La Monroe and Wofford. So it's kind of crazy. Bo Bounds, Dave Bartoo with you, coaching unicorns in this state. I start with Lane 1 and Dan 1A, but they're the two best ever. And we also talked about how player evaluation has never been more important. It's an eye roll with some of the college football fans, but with the portal and you got to go so fast. You know, I referenced it last night, and Bartoo's talked to a million coaches over the years. I'll never forget what Tony Hughes told me about Dan Mullen. And Tony coached at Ole Miss, Southern Miss, and Mississippi State and had a ton of success and was with I don't know how many winning teams. But he said, I've never seen anybody in the film room that can turn on film and say, yeah, he can play. Now, he's going to play a different position, but he can play. Once we get him up here and he gets 5 meals a day and gets in the weight room, da-da-da-da-da. Dan just had and Kiffin's a hell of an evaluator, too. I mean, Quinshon Judkins, I mean, we could go on, but there's a running back out of Alabama that Bama nor Auburn wanted, and Lane took him, and he ended up being a superstar. There's plenty more.
Well, you look at player development, look at Signetti.
Right.
Do we have any better? Because I don't think a lot of people realize Kurt Signetti kind of built some rosters at Alabama for Nick Saban, too. Just, kind of like, maybe some of the best teams
ever
this century.
Yeah.
Then
left to go to IUPA. Unbelievable. Then Elon, then James Madison. Dave Bartoo's in the house. Check us out on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. SEC Insider Hit coming up next. That's our big 24-minute segment.
Swoochy Boochie, good morning to you. I'd kick his ass out. They got Muschamped. Be hot take.
And we're off. Good morning. Welcome into the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. Show is brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It is good to be blue, the official healthcare provider of the Out of Bounds Show, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. Bo Bounds, Dave Bartoo, Diamond Dave Bartoo, Matrix Analytical, joining me. He's live in studio. You can watch the show right now on the YouTube channel. Search Out of Bounds Sports, Out of Bounds Sports. And, of course, Straight Funk is with us, too. And we were just glad he got here. He's pretty locked in. And Bartoo is celebrating Vanderbilt on the set. So he went and grabbed the Vanderbilt helmet this morning. And it hasn't been on set in a while. I guess last year maybe Vanderbilt and Diego won a big game or two. I mean, they won 10 games. And Bartoo on the way to the studio this morning said, Bartoo, you go ahead. What'd you say about Vanderbilt
we were
going?
talking about strength of schedule and the quality of the conference and so forth. And one of my immediate thoughts is, how good is a conference where the absolute dead last, historically worst recruiter wins 10 games? How good is the conference? Right? I mean, Duke wins the ACC. Oh, ACC sucks.
Right.
Duke's in the top 25. ACC sucks. Virginia's in the top 25. ACC sucks. Big 10, Big 12. Right? Arizona, a team that recruits in the 50s.
Right.
Oh, the Big 10 sucks. Big 12 sucks.
Right.
Right.
So Vanderbilt, the way you framed it up, I had not thought about that. I mean, Vanderbilt went 10-2 last year. It goes to show you how weak the conference was.
Exactly. And not only were they 10-2, okay, they were the number one scoring efficiency offense in the entire conference.
What?
How about that?
They were the number ones. Okay. Because, and we've talked about this before many times, is one of the lines in the sand for a national champion. Last 26 national champions, 2000 through 2025. Okay. At the end of the regular season, every single national champ at the end of the regular season is top 3 in scoring efficiency on offense and or defense.
And sometimes both.
Top 3.
Okay.
Right? Not top 5, not top 7, top 3. I mean, elite. And the only thing, Oklahoma was not top 3. They were the best defense. They were number 4. And Vanderbilt was top 3 in scoring efficiency offense last year. At number 3, right behind number 2, Indiana. That was your only national championship level offense or defense. Last year was with the worst recruiter in the conference. But no, we're going to go SOS. We're going to go, oh, this conference is tough as hell. Yet the worst recruiter put up the best offense in the entire conference. I think we need to rewire expectations and drop pre-NIL BS.
So I've said it on the show, the last 2 or 3 years, it's never been a better time to be good because of the fractured, splintered, huge transition of the portal.
Exactly.
To your point, and an example is the lowest rated recruiter in the Southeastern Conference by a pretty good margin. The Vanderbilt Commodores went 10-2 last year and had the number 1 offense scoring efficiency in the conference.
Yeah.
Is that
Even over Lane, even over Kirby, even over Heupel, even over Sark, whatever.
Right.
DeBoer, Ron Grubb.
No, which recruit? I mean, but you're looking at.
Yeah. I mean, it's the equivalent of Rutgers leading the Big Ten in offense or defense.
I hadn't even thought about that. Let's put it in that layman's story. It's the equivalent of Rutgers going 10-2 in the Big Ten and leading the Big Ten in offense.
Or defense. Pick one.
Or defense.
Right? Pick one.
Or do we, I mean.
And then what do we think of the Big Ten then?
Yeah.
Well, then we take shots at it.
Of course.
Right.
Are you factoring the portal in?
I think it does speak to the volumes that the depth of talent is eroded. There's no team today that's as good as they were years ago. Right.
You mentioned the Georgia Bama teams.
Right. These are the Bama teams, smart, 21, 22, right there on the edge. I mean, they would kick the living bejesus out of everybody in the SEC.
Right.
So getting up there and talking about what the SEC used to be in relation to where it is today, I think it's a poor conversation. I think it's selection bias using what happened before to apply to where it is today. And I think we can use the same argument too to get rid of the G6 in the playoffs. That Cincinnati team that went 12-0 is never coming back through that door. They're never retaining that talent long enough to be that good, and even be competitive. So I think there's a lot of dialogue that could be had because of NIL over the last 4 or 5 years and how it's changed the talent landscape and the continuity landscape, and really has eroded all levels of college football across the board.
And Greg Sankey he just wasn't a happy camper. You're in Tampa, Florida. You're not paying for anything. You flew down on a private jet. You make $1 million a month. Life's not bad. Probably went on a pretty cool vacation at some point this summer. He was cranky, Sankey.
Who? I'm trying to figure out who sold him a bill of goods on going to 9.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
right. Who sold the bill of goods? Somebody had to, because you and I on this show, I've been on this show for over a decade.
Right.
And how many times have I said over the years, don't go to 9?
Right.
The numbers backed it up. Don't go to 9. Stay at 8. Make everybody come down to you. 8 is way better. And as a fan, I would much rather have an 8-2-2 schedule, which is 8 SEC games, 2 Power 4 non-conference, and 2 cupcake-inators, whatever. Right? I'd rather do it that way. That would give me a good SOS too. Yeah. And it'd really define who's good or not. And I think that'd be exciting. But we've said, don't go to 9. Don't do it. It's a bad idea. Strength of schedule doesn't mean anything. It doesn't define the quality of the team. It's the last thing the playoff committee uses in terms of segmenting teams. Don't do it. Don't do it. And here we are. They did it. And I want to know who talked everybody into it.
I got a couple of theories.
Yeah, I would love to hear.
So the presidents run the deal, and they make the vote on, with other people involved. I guess ESPN, Disney sweetened the pot enough. I don't know what that was. Has it been officially announced that was it 10 million more a team, 12 million more a team? I think post-COVID athletic directors and presidents got scared to death. And then with the portal, they're trying to figure out how they can pay for for men's basketball, women's basketball, and college baseball, whichever one's more important on that campus, or two of the three, right? Along with just give some of the other sports, 100,000, 200, whatever their budget is, and softball and some others. Right. And so I think that's it. I think they look at it and they're like, it was a money grab. Disney and ESPN, who now house all of the SEC inventory, gave X amount for the ninth for all 9.
Okay,
games.
so it's a money grab.
Yeah.
So we want our cake and eat it too. Then
Absolutely.
right? I want the money, but I don't want the penalty of going to 9 games. That's what we're talking about. Right. And here we are. We're talking about the penalty of 9 games, and Media Day has been ensnared with SOS talk the entire first day.
Right.
And we've said a million times on this show, everybody listening right now knows that strength of schedule has absolutely nothing to do with the quality of a team. Zero correlation with the quality of the team. But here we are. Suddenly, strength of schedule is the most important thing to talk about. Last year it wasn't. Right? I mean, could you imagine that, you look at Vanderbilt's schedule, right? Could you imagine if Ole Miss was 10-2 last year? Vanderbilt was 10-2 last year, and Vanderbilt gets in because they got a better strength of schedule.
Ooh.
Right? Wait till that happens.
Well,
That would have burned some people up.
Right? Wait till that happens.
Or Vanderbilt.
Would that not have been a valid argument?
What about Vanderbilt getting in over LSU, or Georgia,
Right.
because of what's your strength of schedule? I'm doing that in air quotes.
Air quotes, the strength of schedule, and so I don't mind the way the playoff committee has been using it, which is to separate equal teams at the end, right? You have the equal number of quality wins. You got an equal number of top 25 wins. You're 10-2, you're both 10-2. Who has a better strength of schedule? Maybe they both get in, but one is the 7 seed with a better SOS, and one is the 8 seed. And then the other thing is nobody's talking about how do you calculate strength of schedule. I could sit here and show you 100 different ways to calculate.
Sure, you
Right.
could.
Right?
I see your 9,000 spreadsheets.
And then we could manipulate it.
Right.
You can't, one of the easiest things to manipulate is a strength of schedule ranking.
Oh, yeah.
Surely.
Because you could just start tweaking the dials until it comes out the way you want it.
Right.
So,
Which Danny Cannell has said yesterday that the SEC doesn't play anybody. So
Oh my God.
he made sure to jump on the bandwagon. That evidently there's no more talent since we've lost 3 national championships. Well, we hadn't played for them.
Right.
But since we haven't won a national championship in 3 years, Cannell's like, this league's garbage.
Yeah, well, something. How about they're all garbage? Nobody plays anybody until there's...
Well, that's your whole thing. You would like to, and I get where you're going. I mean, I'm trying to figure out if you're totally right. Who knows who is, but I get what you want more teams to play each other, cross P4 conference, to try to get an idea on who the best teams are by the time we go into the college football playoff.
Right. And as
So you want to see Oregon and Georgia, or
gosh, even Oregon and Oklahoma State and Georgia and BYU. I don't care.
right?
I didn't like the Pac-12 blowing up
Nah.
and going to the Big Ten, but I will say, as a fan, going to Autzen now and seeing Michigan or Indiana kick our ass, or Northwestern, or all these different ones, it's great.
Yeah.
It really is. And I'm like, okay. And then from a strength of schedule standpoint, a lot of people try to compare college basketball to college football, which is a bit silly because look at the non-conference schedule of basketball.
Oh,
You got what, 12, 14, 16 games
Yeah.
before January 1? Huge crossover,
Abs-
right?
absolutely.
We can feed that in
Kansas
here.
and Kentucky play. We have the SEC versus the Big 12 or Big 10. It's a not a tournament, but it's a whatever. Yeah,
Right,
we have all
right.
kinds
You
of
got
stuff.
all that stuff. And so to me, to get it accurate, the fewer games that we play non-conference, the worse the strength of schedule model gets, right? Think about our data points, right? If the SEC, I mean, they just pulled out of Arizona State, LSU, Washington, Tennessee, and which is telling,
league-
me that's going away.
Oh, yeah. So they added a 9th conference game. Dave Bartoo, Bo Bounds on the Out of Bounds show. We don't want to leave out Stray Funk. He's running the show. You're listening to ESPN 105.9 The Zone. If you would like to ask Dave Bartoo a question about your coach or OC or DC, like a ranking, rating, grade, or your schedule or something like that, head coach, all that, hit us up on the Dancing Rabbit Golf text line, 601-885-3776. Where Bartoo's going with LSU canceling the Arizona State series and Georgia canceling the Washington series is it looks to be obvious that the league is now going to pull back on the mandated Power 4 non-conference game going forward, whatever year that is, while going to 9, because they're not going to ever drop the 9. Once you go to non-conference games, you're not going back.
No, I don't think so either. You know, unless there is some sort
Crazy,
of
right?
Yeah, and unless there's some sort of everybody gets together and drops to 8 at the same time,
Right.
They got to have a memorandum of understanding. Basically, we're going to all do this, and it sucks though that with everybody at 9, and let's say that P4 requirement non-conference is dropped, which is fine. I understand it to try to be.
The Big Ten doesn't have it, by the way.
They're trying to level the playing field. But what it's also taking away is data points, which makes strength of schedule it's impossible to come up with a good one.
Right.
It really, really is.
But the first thing is get the G5 teams out of the college football playoff and then figure out if we're going to go to 16, 20, or 24. The SEC wants 16. The Big Ten wants 24. And I don't know if that means they'll land at 20 or who's going to balk or how this is going to look going forward. But we go to non-conference games, which is not going to be good for anybody in the league as far as losses. You said it'll average a half a loss to a loss to each team.
Yeah, and it's going to impact the lesser talented
Injuries.
teams that year.
So we're the most injured. We're the most injury-prone league. Is that right?
Yes, you are. It's starts lost per snap.
Starts lost per snap.
Yep.
The Southeastern Conference is number 1.
Is number 1.
Okay.
Right. And now that I haven't done the research on that in the last couple of years, it may have shifted because number 2 was the Big Ten, but then the Big Ten went to 9 conference games. Okay. And so, but it's always been the SEC. SEC was number 1 in that 10-year research that I did. And when you look at it, though, they were also number 1 in average height and weight on the field, right?
Okay.
It's simple physics.
Sure.
Is force equals mass time acceleration. You got bigger bodies moving just as fast as everybody else.
Sure.
You are getting more injuries. And to compare it to the NFL, this will show you the violence of the NFL, is with the SEC, you lose about 1 start per player per season. In the NFL, you lose 3 guys for the entire season, the equivalent. So for every 1 start lost in the SEC due to injury, there is 1 guy that loses his entire season in the NFL. The NFL is essentially like it's like 9 times more violent in terms of injuries.
Good grief.
But it's all the biggest, fastest guys.
I get it.
Right?
I mean, you can tell. We all watch. I binge watch 12 hours of college football on Saturday. Not that I know it, but it's fun. You see it. But man, when you turn on the NFL on Sunday, good God! I mean, the difference is night and day.
Yeah, it's
you
really
can
not
tell in
even
the
close.
first.
And then you look
4
at that
plays
injury,
you watch.
Yeah, and you look at that injury record too. It is in lockstep with the size of the conference. It's the SEC and Big Ten, and then it drops down to the ACC, and then it drops down to, well, it was the Pac-12, and then the Big 12 was the least injured. And then you get into your G6s, which had 300% less. It was like 1 in 3 at the injury rate at the G6. You were 3 times more likely to get injured and lose a start in the Power 4 than the G6.
God. How about that?
Then it steps up again to the NFL. So
Hold on. All right. So we got to switch gears because we've got 5 minutes here, and I want to do Lane versus John David Baker.
Oh, okay.
All right. Bo Bounds, Dave Bartoo, live in studio. You can watch the show on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. Show is brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue, the official healthcare provider of the Out of Bounds show. Want to say good morning. Welcome into you. Straight Funk is with us too. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for hanging out with us. Bartoo will be with us all morning. And then tomorrow morning, live from Dancing Rabbit Golf Club on the property of Pearl River Resort. So we're going to do a Lane versus John David Baker over the next 4 or 5 minutes here. Lane was the offensive coordinator / maybe Weiss in Oxford. And now John David Baker is the OC in Oxford. He had 2 years experience at East Carolina, 1 good, 1 bad. Kind of like Lebby at Oklahoma, 1 good, 1 bad. And at Mississippi State, Lebby's had 1 bad, 1 okay.
Wait a minute.
What?
Wait a minute. Well, let's not get over our skis. John David Baker, good and bad, is not Jeff Lebby, good and bad at Oklahoma.
Okay.
Jeff Lebby, good and bad at Oklahoma, was awful and awesome.
Okay.
Okay. John David Baker was really good and still pretty good.
Okay.
Okay. Now his second year at East Carolina was a big drop off, specifically in explosiveness. It was the least explosive offense in the country last year. But we can take a look at play calling traits. And that's what we can break down. We can break down run. I can remember how I said I got a bunch of data at my fingertips now.
Yeah.
I can do this with anybody in the country since 2010.
Okay.
So Kiffin and Baker in 2025. And we can go any direction you want with this, but let's start with overall tempo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
Baker's a little bit quicker. Now this takes into account garbage time. So Ole Miss was awful good last year.
Right.
Okay. They had a lot of garbage time.
Right.
Lane could slow it down in the fourth quarter whenever he wanted to. ECU, one is good. They play pretty up tempo. So Baker last year was averaging a snap every 21 seconds.
Interesting.
Okay. 21.2. Kiffin, 23.2.
Okay.
So a couple seconds faster. Right. So I expect
compound that makes a difference.
Right. I expect John David Baker to be running a little bit faster offense. Maybe not as quick in year one because there has got to be a comfortable level of SEC play. Right. He's in East Carolina. You know, it's tomato. It's not tomato. I mean, it is 2 totally different leagues there. Snaps per game though averages out about the same. Baker is going to push about 4.5, 5 more snaps. So basically an extra drive is going to go on Pete Golding's defense. Okay. So slightly faster, few more snaps, but running the hurry up I'll jump into tempo distribution. Okay. So we know John David is going a little bit quicker than Kiffin, but what is the tempo distribution? Now, John David Baker runs a hurry up offense, snapping the ball with 15 seconds or more left on the clock. He does that about 30% of the time last year, 30.1%. Kiffin, 27.2. Okay. So Baker, this kind of goes lock and step. He's running faster. He's using the hurry up more. Okay. The big difference is the fast. 15 to 20 seconds have eroded on the play clock. Kiffin snaps at about 14% of the time, Baker at 20.3. So you are going to see more than half of the snaps with Baker versus about 40% of the snaps with Lane. They're snapping this with 20 seconds or less eroded on the play clock. Okay. So you got more tempo there. And then as it goes down, when you start talking about grinding it out, this is where Kiffin kind of really slows it down when he is ending a game. Nearly 30% of his snaps there was a 30 seconds eroded from the play clock.
Wow.
Over 30%. A lot of people think Lane is really, really up tempo, but nearly 1 out of every 3 snaps he had last year, the play clock had run down 30 seconds already.
How about that?
Right. Where John David Baker is only at 24%. So you got a lot more tempo. You got a lot more pace. Kiffin has more of a distribution of pace of play.
He's got an incredible feel
for
the game, which is really hard to quantify.
Yeah, it is. But you look at Kiffin and
difficult.
You look at the running numbers we talked about yesterday too. You know, the run to pass ratio in 3rd and 5 and more in close games, Kiffin led the league in every aspect. 3rd and 5 to 10, 3rd and 10 plus, and so forth. So Lane not only runs it a little bit slower than John David Baker, he also runs the ball a whole lot more.
Hold that thought. Dave Bartoo, Matrix Analytical, live in the BankPlus studio. We'll continue this discussion on Lane Kiffin and John David Baker. Maybe a little bit of a deficiency between Lane, who's rock star level, top 5, top 10, maybe play caller, and John David Baker, who's not top 10 or 20 or 30 or 40. So we'll jump back into that. But if you do have a question for Bartoo on your team, on your coach, what their grade is, OCDC, hit us up on the Dancing Rabbit Golf text line, 601-885-3776. We do have a 601 unnamed texter that says, just a thought on Lane Kiffin. He was faster at FAU, and John David Baker was faster at ECU. John David Baker won't be as fast in the SEC. Also, why no mention of Joe Judge, who's heavily involved in all things offense? Huh. Okay.
Joe Judge?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Okay. So find us on X at Bo Bounds and the Key City, Mississippi Queen, Bartoo. We got Bartoo all into Mississippi. He had fried soft shell crab at Kessler Prime last night. He had a Key City Mi Vida. And he may have had a Key City, Mississippi Queen. That's our craft beer of choice out of Vicksburg, Mississippi. So we're baptizing him. I mean, he's getting all the Mississippi. He's going to have black eyed peas at Mama and M's at Golden Moon later today, and tonight will be at Philip M's.
Right,
and he's got
I got my new hashtag come to the sip Ole Miss sweatshirt here.
Yeah.
I think I'm keeping this one because it ain't staying in the studio.
Okay, so Bartoo grabbed one of our sweatshirts off the rack in the back. Come to the sip.
I know it's hard for you to say, isn't it?
No,
Look at that.
I was like, come to the ship, come to the sip.
Yeah.
We've had that for a while. That's since the first Sugar Bowl that Lane went to with Corral when they played Baylor and Dave Aranda. All right, Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone ESPN. Let's get back into it. Bartoo on the Out of Bounds show. Watch the show on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. Bartoo, if you would continue to, and we may stop you and debate it, but continue to compare and contrast Lane Kiffin as a play caller and John David Baker.
Right, and this is last year. This is just 2025.
Okay.
Folks. Okay, so it was Baker at ECU and Kiffin at obviously at Ole Miss. Explosive play rate.
Okay.
Let's talk about that because now there's a little side note on explosive plays for everybody listening. There's two kinds of explosive plays.
Okay.
There's explosive scoring and there's explosive non-scoring. Okay. Explosive non-scoring plays affect road teams positively for wins and losses only about 55% of the time. You know, if you take all the explosive plays and jumble them up, they have a big impact on the game. But when you start separating out road and home and explosive scoring and non-scoring, it starts making a bit of a difference. But explosive play rate overall is a good measure of how, because that really affects wins and losses. Okay. It's right there with turnover margin. It's not as strong as scoring efficiency. It's not as strong as momentum control, but explosive play rate's really important. So last year, plays of 15 or more yards. Kiffin, 13.8%. Baker, 10.5. Okay. So a little less explosive on the per play explosive rate. 20-yard plus plays. Kiffin, 8.6. Baker, 6.2. So about the same drop off. You know, Lane a little bit more explosive. Explosive run percentage. Kiffin, 8. Baker, 4.5. That's a big gap right there. I mean, the difference between the two isn't that big, but it's almost double for Lane on the run side of it.
Right.
Explosive passes, Kiffin at 21, Baker at 18. Not that far apart. So explosive play calling on the pass side of it is probably a little bit more even. The run side is where I think the differentiation is with Kiffin and his play calling. So overall in 2025, Ole Miss just generated significantly more explosive plays for the game. Nearly 14% of their plays go for 15 plus yards, where ECU was about 10.5.
Okay. Interesting. I wonder if we should compare John David Baker and Levy.
We might come back and do that. That takes a minute for this.
Well,
to
maybe
run,
like
to run all of it.
8:30 or 9.
Yeah, we can do that. Now, here's the biggest thing that the numbers pointed out.
What jumps out at you?
In the behavior?
Okay.
This is the biggest one, and then I can wrap it up. But this one was really interesting in terms of pace of play. Quarter 1, Kiffin much slower than Baker. Quarter 2, about the same, but Baker still faster, more up-tempo plays. Quarter 3, Baker's more up-tempo plays. And then it flips. Okay. When Kiffin is trailing in the fourth quarter, his up-tempo is twice as fast as John David Baker. He steps on the gas. And here's the other thing is when he is leading, he maintains tempo. John David Baker slows way down at any point when he's winning a game. So I think
Kiffin plays to win. We've talked about it over the years. There's not many coaches that do it, and I don't know how you would frame it up, but you got to go get the win. They're not going to in our league. Usually, they're not going to give it to you.
No, you got to go take it.
You got to go take it.
And these numbers are saying that John David Baker maybe plays a little bit not to lose when he's winning, right? And maybe doesn't have the true fastball to ratchet it up. He runs fast. But Lane has the ability. It's almost like he can call multiple plays at once and just ramp up the tempo when he wants to get it going. So it's just imagine him just cruising down the highway at 70 all game. And then suddenly in the fourth quarter, whether he's losing or winning, here comes the tempo. Here comes the pressure. And either I'm going to stomp you out or I'm going to go super fast. I have to be able to catch up. Whereas Baker doesn't really speed up. He runs the same tempo when he's losing as the first, second, and third quarter. And when he's winning, he slows way down, trying not to lose the football game. Big difference, in my opinion, there.
Interesting. All right. If you've got a question for Dave Bartoo, hit us up on the Golden Moon Casino text line, 601-885-3776. Hit us up. It can be a Big Ten team. You can we have Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, Miami, whatever. Let us know. But if it's SEC, bring it. That was a good Lane Kiffin versus John David Baker as play callers in 2025.
It's just profiling them. Here's another one. Here's one that just popped up.
We're going to tease. Who is Dan Mullen's profile as a head coach? This is going to be great on the other side.
The other thing last year, Kiffin, 4th and short. This is his run game. Okay, because Kiffin's run game far better than John David Baker's last year. 79% of his 4th and short, Kiffin converted. Baker, because he passes so much, 42%. 42% ain't going to win it in the SEC. He needs to get that up.
Bartoo on the Out of Bounds Show, brought to you by Superior Foundation. French drains, driveways, foundation repairs, superior.ms. Call Todd Sandridge and Trey Pace today at Superior Foundation. Oh, the Bartoo drops are great.
Good.
Yeah.
That is right in the giblets, baby.
Hey, we're rolling Out of Bounds 105.9 The Zone ESPN. We're driven by your next GMC Sierra truck at Fowler GMC, Pearl Brandon. FOWLER. Hit the website, FowlerGMC.com. FowlerGMC.com. We are live in the BankPlus studio. Lunch today brought to you by Martin's in Livingston. It's ribs day. They've been smoking them since like 4 a.m. this morning. So the blue plate today, ribs, Martin's in Livingston with an ice cold Budweiser or Key City, Mississippi Queen. Bartoo with us. Do we want to do the Dan Mullen profile for our listeners?
Yeah, we can do that. We were just talking about who do we compare Levy to?
We'll do Levy
How about
too.
this? How about this? Is why don't we compare and contrast? Because look, every fan wants to be the best.
Right.
So why don't we compare Jeff to Tim Beck at Vanderbilt?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Right.
For our listeners, Vanderbilt just had 2 really good years. Well, arguably their greatest year last year at 10-2. They're the worst recruiter in the league and went 10-2. and they had Diego Pavia. So we'll tee Bartoo up. Clark Lee saved his job by hiring Jerry Kill, former head coach at New Mexico or New Mexico State.
Jerry's been everywhere.
Okay.
Jerry's really underrated.
Minnesota.
And he brought in Tim Beck with him, who's a good offensive coordinator. And obviously Pavia.
Right.
You know, who is it's like, you know, Johnny Manziel and Jeremiah Masoli had a baby. Boom.
That's right.
Run him out there.
All right, so Levy versus Tim Beck, who's been the OC at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah. So it'll be going through that. But you had talked about Dan Mullen.
Yeah.
And
I wanted to profile, like, who's his comp as a college football coach. Dan was stops as a head coach at Mississippi State, Florida, and UNLV.
Mm-hmm. And so for folks out there with coach effect, it is something that I came up with, over a decade, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it was very simple. It was when you won a game against a team that you out-recruited, there's no coach effect. Because the theory is talent wins most football games. And it's true. If you take all of the high school and portal talent and take the 4 best classes of the last 4 years, whether it's the portal or high school, you know, and you take your 4 best classes, that's going to win you about 70% of the football games. The rest of it is coaching. But because of the access to data now, I'm able to not only have coach effect, but I can have WAR. I can have wins above replacement. How good has that guy been over time? And so it allows me to be able to take a look at somebody like Dan Mullen at Mississippi State, at Florida, at UNLV individually, and as a full career, right? What's his full career for coach effect and so forth? And so we were doing this yesterday, and I asked the system, who is Dan Mullen's closest twin, basically?
Yeah.
What was the complement of it? Dan Mullen, so for his entire career, he is almost plus 1 full game coach effect.
Per year.
Right. Meaning for his entire career, he has almost averaged 1 extra win above talent at all of his stops. Okay.
And that's like a 14-year head coaching career. Go ahead, Bartoo.
It's an amazing number for him. His standard deviation, his best year to worst year, is 1.54. So his top year and his bottom year aren't that far apart. And his wins above replacement is at 43.1. Now, Saban has the greatest WAR since 2010. He's at a 77. Dabo's like at a 69. And Dabo at this pace is never even going to come close to breaking 70. So yeah,
wins above replacement for our listeners is WAR. Go ahead, Bartoo.
And so you look at Dan and you look at his whole career, and then the number one guy that popped up, 1 less year as a head coach, coach effect, 0.74 versus 0.71. So almost the same coach effect for their career. Their WAR, so both of these guys have been doing it a long time at a really good level. One has a 50, one's at a 43. Standard deviation, one's at 1.65, one is at a 1.54. And the guy closest to Dan Mullen with those numbers is James Franklin.
James Franklin is Dan Mullen's twin as a head coach, with a lot of what Franklin did to give you that number was the fact that he was so amazing at Vanderbilt.
Right, it's more back-weighted.
Okay.
Right, Dan, I would say it's kind of
he's
flipped.
more level, right?
Yeah, well, Dan, if you look at his career with Mississippi State, it was a slow curve up.
Right.
And I think a lot of people underappreciate what he did at Florida.
Right.
You know, it fell off a cliff at the end, and because of that recency bias, I think everybody forgets the 3.5 years before it fell off a cliff.
He was fantastic for a while.
And he took over UNLV with nobody last year. Barry Odom left to go be terrible at Purdue and took everybody with him. And Dan only posted a 10-2. Just absolutely wicked good.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. You know, and so, but the numbers back that up. The numbers say a P4 to G6 and they'll move down. There's hardly any loss in ability there. There's no like 1 year waiting period where Lane going to LSU, where some are all going from Tulane to Florida. There's going to be a step back a 1.5 game step back below expectations. Whereas that drop down, the big guys can handle it a whole lot better. So James Franklin was the number one comparison, though.
All right, so Mullen's twin in comp is James Franklin, and it's heavily weighted for Franklin because of winning games he shouldn't have won at Vanderbilt.
Yes, right. Yeah, but
he was good.
He was, and I think we would agree if what he did at Vanderbilt was at Penn State, we would have all said Penn State's going to be in a national title game at some point.
Right.
Right. I mean, really, and he just couldn't find that magic overall at Vanderbilt, but he was still really good.
Yeah, he was knocking down basically 10-2s every year.
I mean, 10-2, 11-1. He had him in the playoffs. I mean, it was going good until it didn't.
Right.
Right. And then it just fell off a cliff.
Kind of a little Dabo in him in that maybe wasn't quite willing to listen or change or
I don't know. I think a lot of it, when you start getting to that elite level, I do believe you have to just catch certain breaks.
Okay.
Right? I mean, things just have to come together. It's like, look, I think one of the great examples is LSU. I will go to my grave not being able to quantify how Ed Orgeron did what he did at Ole Miss.
10-25.
And turned around and has a national championship ring at the head coach at LSU.
Right.
I don't get it. It's like going, Dave, 3 + 6 is purple. What? And so and think about all the conflux of everything coming through. Joe Brady, Burrow, Aranda,
two NFL first-round wide receivers who could be in the Hall of Fame.
Lightning in a bottle. So with James, you look at it, he just couldn't get. I don't think he couldn't get the quarterback right. Right. I mean, he could never get the quarterback right, and he couldn't get that OCDC right. And I think he got frustrated because you saw him fire a lot of OCs the last few years, and so I think there was a frustration level there for him. But and I think this year he's going to get the OC wrong, but that's between my opinion and who's going to be
Franklin's.
Franklin's.
Who'd he hire?
Next man up.
Okay.
A guy who was terrible at the FCS who just kind of stuck around long enough. So we'll see if that works.
Dave Bartoo on the Out of Bounds Show live in studio. Check us out. YouTube channel, Out of Bounds Sports. Out of Bounds Sports is the YouTube channel. The show is brought to you by Matt Anderson, Southeastern Land Group. He'll find your next property, hunting camp, farm. Call Matt Anderson today, 601-408-5155. Matt Anderson with Southeastern Land Group will find your next hunting camp.
Summerall and DeVore.
All right, good morning. Welcome into the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Your SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Pearl River Resort and the Golden Moon Casino Vegas-style sportsbook. We'll be live from Dancing Rabbit Golf Club tomorrow, Bartoo and I. We're looking forward to that. We did 2 hours just on YouTube yesterday. Bartoo's doing 3 hours with us today and 3 hours with us tomorrow. So we're just going through fun stuff, coaches and schedules and trends, and as Bartoo said, storytelling by numbers. And so this is fun. He's live in the BankPlus studio, and you can watch us on the cameras on the YouTube channel, Out of Bounds Sports. We just did a coaching comp. Dan Mullen's coaching twin is James Franklin, and we're going to do Kiffin's coming up. But first, we want to compare Jeff Levy as a play caller in 2025 versus Tim Beck as a play caller at Vanderbilt in 2025. We just did it with Lane Kiffin and John David Baker. So, Bartoo?
Yeah, and the reason we were going with Vanderbilt is simply they had the number one scoring efficiency offense in the SEC last year.
Yeah.
So
everybody predicted that.
Right. Why not try to see where we got to go?
Right.
On this thing. And we won't talk about 2024 at all for Mississippi State. So this is just 2025. But the first thing that jumps out, I mean, look, we know Vanderbilt is super efficient, right? But how much more efficient? Okay. So per snap last year, You take all the offensive snap of State, all the offensive snaps of Vanderbilt. The expected points per snap, Vanderbilt number was 38% higher.
38% higher.
38% higher per snap. So imagine, extrapolate that out. Every drive State had, every drive Vanderbilt had, Vanderbilt averaged 38% more points than State. That's how big the gap was.
And you just take that snaps by points.
Yeah.
For the game.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, and Mississippi State's last year wasn't that bad. It was 0.187. And John David Baker was at 0.191 at East Carolina. So offensive efficiency wasn't very far apart there, but Beck and Pavia and Vanderbilt, just awesome last year. It's really hard. And I'm putting that out there because the perspective of nearly 40% higher scoring per drive for an entire season. It's amazing, right? But here's the thing is, look at the snap rate. You would have expected Vanderbilt to run a lot more plays, right? Nope. Plays per game. Vanderbilt, offensive snaps, 59. Mississippi State, 70.3. Levy was running a snap every 22.4 seconds. Beck and Vanderbilt, 27.6. So not only were they going way slower, it was the per play. Look at the yards per play, 5.77, 7.71. Almost 2 yards per play, every play for an entire season. That's how much better the Vanderbilt offense was, right? And one of the big reasons, there's 2 reasons there. Explosive plays and third down conversions, right? Okay. Moving the chains, right? Okay. So explosive plays, we're getting big pops. Vanderbilt, about 17% of their plays were explosive. For Mississippi State, 11.
Okay, that's a pretty big gap.
That's a pretty big gap there. But look at the moving the chains. This is where it's really big. Okay, and I think everybody listening would agree from an efficiency standpoint, football standpoint. Yeah, we want scoring, but we also need to move the chains.
Sure.
You know, we all can't be TCU where 48% of our touchdowns came from explosive scores outside the 20. Okay. Yeah. So last year, Mississippi State third down conversion rate on offense, 41.2%. Vanderbilt, 56.7%. So, and it was at every level, third and short, 67-73. Third and medium, 4 to 6 yards. 50 to 67%. So third and 4, third and 5, third and 6, Mississippi State was 50-50. Vanderbilt was 2 out of 3. Right? It adds up. And then
over the course of a season, it adds up.
Right. And then it flips, third and long. 1 and 3 for Mississippi State, 50-50 for Vanderbilt. You know, and so you have a big pace of play advantage for Mississippi State, but it was largely inefficient compared to what Vanderbilt was doing. So I think the moral of the story of this, when I look at it, that I like to tell is the people always ask, well, what's better, up tempo, RPO, slow, grind it out 3 yards in a cloud of dust. It doesn't matter. It's can you execute? That is it. Everybody has a great offense if they can coach it and execute it. That is it, so for Mississippi State going into next year.
That is a big gap between Vanderbilt's offense and Mississippi State's offense in 2025.
Yes, it's a massive gap. You don't realize it till you start looking at these per play and per drive numbers.
And it's not like Vanderbilt's recruiting in the top 10.
They're not even in the top 30, 35. I think they were 40th last year. When you add up the portal and their high school recruiting, we talked about it. They're the worst in the SEC.
Right.
They're number 40. But it also goes to show, maybe like we talked about, is with NIL and the lack of depth, how one quarterback could make a difference. But remember, that quarterback also has to be coached, and the plays have to be called, and the plays still have to be executed. Balls still have to get caught in order to make that happen. But Vanderbilt is a great study in that pace doesn't always equal wins and efficiency.
Okay. All right. So that was Jeff Levy versus Tim Beck for our listeners. He's the offensive coordinator at Vanderbilt. He had Diego Pavia the last couple of years, saved Clark Lee's job and they went 10-2 last year. Bartoo started the show basically saying this is how bad, or not how bad, this is how watered down the conference is compared to 5-6 years ago when Bama and Georgia were running it. Vanderbilt, the worst recruiter, had the number one scoring efficiency offense in the league and went 10-2. All right, so are we going to Kiffin's twin?
Oh, we can. Yeah, we can. If anybody's listening right now, text in if you want any more comparisons.
Yeah.
We don't have to do it on the air. We might be able to do some recording off the air.
Let me throw in Rebel Greg's on the Dancing Rabbit Golf text line.
Oh, yeah.
He said, can you ask Bartoo what kind of talent did John David Baker have at East Carolina versus what he will have at Ole Miss? Curious to see what the recruiting rankings were at East Carolina. Yeah, but you're also comparing he's going to go against an SEC schedule.
Right. That's it. It's not about the talent they have individually. It's the talent relative
to who they play.
Right? This is what we call ease of schedule. What is your talent relative to the talent you're facing? And so I don't have that number right in front of me.
That's fine.
But I'll pull it up.
But it doesn't really matter,
Rebel Greg,
because it matters if comparing Ole Miss and East Carolina offensive talent. East Carolina was playing an AAC schedule. Now he'll play. Yes, he has Trinidad and Lacey.
But is it a net? But is it a net?
Is it a push?
Positive? Right. I mean, is ECU the number one recruit? Or is ECU the Georgia of their conference? And they have a talent advantage in every single game.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right. Oh, we're going to find out. I'll check that out at the break for Greg.
Okay. All right. So we did Dan Mullen's twin.
Mm-hmm.
Head coaching comp is James Franklin. Bartoo on the Out of Bounds show. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. This is ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Who is Lane Kiffin's comp?
Yeah, so I asked the question of the system of look at Lane's career. Now, this takes into account everything since 2010.
Okay.
Right? So USC, I don't know if Tennessee was still there, but this isn't just Ole Miss or Ole Miss plus FAU. It's everything. Lane Kiffin for his career, plus 1.03 games coach effect. It's a little bit better than Dan.
Just a
little bit better than Dan.
Okay. That's per year.
His twin is at plus 1.06 games. Okay.
Can you give me a hint?
The War
wins above replacement.
Right.
For our listeners.
The war. One's at 33. One's at 43. Lane's a little bit better overall. So that means this other guy has had a little bit more talent. They've both been in college football for about the same amount of time, and they've both been at multiple programs. Their worst seasons are about the same. Their top seasons,
I'm going to guess,
are about the same.
And people are going to be thrown off because now they think he's terrible because he just got fired. Brian Kelly.
No.
Okay.
That's not who it spit out.
Okay.
It spit out the guy that had all those numbers, almost identical to Lane.
Okay.
Is Lincoln Riley.
Lincoln Riley is Lane Kiffin's comp.
Yep.
Interesting.
Similar low. Worst year, you take their worst years. They're very similar. Their best years, both of them at plus 3 games. Okay. And it's funny, even beyond that, from an offensive coordinator standpoint, both are 5-star offensive coordinators in their own right. Right.
That's impressive.
So, but you look at it, both of them are averaging basically for their career, they're averaging plus 1 game above
coach
talent.
Effect.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
It is really, really
so did
good.
Dan.
So did Dan.
When you do that over 10 years, that is hard to do. And Dan's done it. Kiffin's done it. Lincoln Riley, James Franklin, I guess, and so on. So, all right. So this guy is hammering Lane for not winning a playoff game yet. Okay. Well, I mean, he took Ole Miss to the college football playoffs. He just didn't coach them. He was going to beat Tulane in his sleep.
Yeah. Well, what do you mean he didn't win a playoff game?
This guy's he's trying to basically say that Lane's not that good because he hasn't ever done anything in the postseason.
Oh yeah, he
went 11-1 at Ole Miss.
Yeah, and exactly. They're beating Tulane. They're beating Georgia.
I mean,
right? I mean, jeez.
All right,
tomato.
Right. Okay, so Lane's Lincoln Riley.
Isn't that interesting?
It is. I mean, he walked in,
but it makes sense in a way. both from a head coach and offensive coordinator standpoint. I think Lane has obviously been better at Ole Miss than Lincoln has been at USC, clearly. But it also shows you how good Lincoln Riley was at Oklahoma. You know, when you start blending those things, kind of like James Franklin, a little bit more weighted on the back end. And it goes back to saying why Dan is so good, because he keeps improving. Franklin, yeah, he's had a great career, but Vanderbilt was better than the next stop. Right? Oklahoma was better than USC. Lane was better at Ole Miss than FAU, and he was better at FAU than USC, and he's better at USC than he was at Tennessee for the 1 year. So Lane has shown that progression. Dan has shown that progression, and that is really, really hard to do in college football.
And back to what you said in the 7:30 SEC Insider Hit, Lane Kiffin and Dan Mullen are the only two coaches since 2010 to coach at three different schools and do what?
And improve the coach effect over the predecessor or their own coach effect year over year. Right. So Dan came into Mississippi State, improved on what he took over.
Wow.
Then he was at Florida. His Florida coach effect numbers in those 4 years was better than his overall Mississippi State. And then his 1 year at UNLV was better than either number at it. Now granted, he had one great year.
Right.
So our sample size is 1 year, but
14 total.
But something, Dan and Lane are just both awesome.
And they both coached here.
They're both awesome. You guys were lucky to have him here in the state, man. I can't tell you how lucky you were to have two really good coaches like that around the same time. Just unbelievable. 9
years with Mullen, 6 years with Lane. I agree. Blessed to have both. All right, Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Brought to you by Ford Plumbing and Air. You like indoor plumbing to work, and you want your air conditioning to work. You want to call Ford Plumbing and Air today if you have HVAC, air conditioning issues, or just need a new one, or if you have plumbing issues. Ford Plumbing and Air, locally owned and operated in Ridgeland, Mississippi. Bo Bounds, Dave Bartoo with you. Mr. Matrix Analytical, Diamond Dave, according to Mr. DX. We've got a fire levy on the Dancing Rabbit Golf text line from Res Dog. And then Drug Dog says Bartoo will not be on Jeff Levy's Christmas card list this year, nor will Bo. All right. You're right. I will not be. Bartoo may. And then Christian Hughes on the text line says, Quarterback Jack, you are the MVP of the YouTube stream today with the bangers on the break. All right. I guess he's doing something. What were you doing?
Oh, we're playing Panic and On Freeze during the breaks.
Okay.
Hey, I keep them, keep the folks tuned in, man. I want to give them a black screen just to look at for 5 minutes.
Why don't we do a cool graphic?
Well, I mean, we have
it says subscribe.
Oh, we have that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's done.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Sun Devil Macy, who went to Arizona State and Ole Miss, he says it's great to hear Bartoo in studio. His voice live is like an angel. The opposite of a lady on a date after a 15-year hiatus, telling me that my voice has gotten raspier from my cigar smoking. What a lie. Love it. He's kind of our philosophical texter.
Yeah.
He's an attorney. Is DeBoer or Grubb overrated? It certainly feels like it. That's one of the texts on the Dancing Rabbit Golf text line.
DeBoer or Grubb? Oh, well, it depends on how you rate them.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, overrated compared to
what? Yeah.
Right. And
as guys, we just like to put it in the box that we want it in.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
a lot of times we don't even compare it to anything else. We just say this guy's not good or this guy's good.
Right.
So go ahead with DeBoer.
And Grubb, I get it. Right. Because Grubb, the question to me is certainly how much was the Penix influence.
Right.
But let's not forget.
Michael Penix was at the University of Washington for our listeners. DeBoer and Grubb were there and went to the national championship game before Greg Byrne went and hired them to go to Alabama. Grubb went to Bama for 5 minutes, then went to the Seattle Seahawks as OC, and now he's back at Bama last year and this year. Bartoo, go ahead.
Yeah, and so it depends on what lens you're looking through for these guys. And so I was just pulling up DeBoer's coach effect profile, because we did this for all 16 teams, and we'll probably get into this later. But you look at DeBoer for his career, his coach effect, he's plus 2.39 games amongst active head
per year. Plus
at
2
at three different places.
Where was he?
Fresno, Washington, and Alabama. So he's plus 2.3 games. That's number 10 out of all active head coaches right now with a grade. Since 2010, guys with 3 or more years of experience, that is number 8 out of 272.
Good Lord.
Right?
That's impressive.
And to compare, Sarkisian, who's been at 3 places, is number 148 out of 272.
Okay. But people run around and think Sark's great because he's won a bunch of games at Texas. But he beats a bunch of teams that he's supposed to beat.
And he's had the last couple of years has been good. But we're talking body of work.
Right. You're talking about
right? Since day one.
Right.
You know, and Sark went on a 8-year binge in which he was negative coach effect every year. Every single year. We talked about PJ Fleck at Minnesota. He was positive 6 out of the last 7 years. You know, and the coach effect, for everybody listening, it's relative to the talent you have versus the talent you're facing. That's one of the big adjustments that we're trying to make. It's not just wins and losses. So DeBoer overall, now there might be some recency bias, but take a look. I mean, Alabama was in the playoff last year, and they had one of the, if not the toughest regular season schedule in college football. But you look at DeBoer, his worst season, he was dead even in coach effect, 0. His best is plus 6. And that extrapolates out.
Plus 6.
Plus 6.
That's insane.
It's totally insane.
Hold on. DeBoer?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was either at Fresno
Yeah. Let me
or
see here.
Washington. Well, I don't know how he'd be
Wait.
plus 6 at Washington.
It was
They had too
Washington.
much
It
of
was
an-
Washington. It was that first year at Washington, 2023, because what he took over was so
bad. Okay.
So there's a progression value to it too.
Okay.
You can have a good season, but if it's worse than the previous year, it knocks you down.
Okay.
Okay. So, anyways,
He was plus 6 at Washington his first year and took over a dumpster fire.
right. So,
Okay.
so
That's impressive.
So you look at his entire career. Number one, why wouldn't you want this guy?
Right.
And number two, if you're talking about, I want to get rid of Kalen, for whom? Who are you getting rid of him for?
Well, and
who's ranked better that you're going to bring in that's a better risk?
And so that was the big question last year when Byrne knew that Michigan was trying to pluck him
Yeah.
and poach him.
Yeah.
Who are you going to go get? I mean, Kirby Smart's not coming to Alabama. I
And that's it.
mean, there's
Who
not
else?
Kurt Signetti wasn't leaving. Indiana had already wrapped him up.
Right.
There's just Ryan Day wasn't going to leave Ohio State for Bama. And
Yeah.
not that I'm sure he's great, but he's done a good job. Sure. It's a great point. If you let him go, who are you going to get?
Right. And here's the other thing in Greg's decision paradigm too, is when you look at the numbers, when a program starts churning head coaches more than 2, you start getting 2, 3 guys in 4, 5, 6 year period, the overall program takes a bigger hit. The win-loss record is harder to keep up when you're churning through head coaches. So the numbers actually say at some point in AD, if you've been churning coaches, you have to bite the bullet and let a guy run it out for 4, 5, 6 years, just so you don't keep in that cycle of trying to replace. Because a lot of times hiring a head coach, man, sometimes you just got to be more lucky than good. And the SEC is a really good example. Two of the
Like Greg Byrne didn't know exactly what he was getting with Dan Mullen, and Keith Carter didn't know exactly what he was getting with Lane Kiffin, but it has made their career because they ended up being
rock stars.
Exactly.
Rock stars. They hired rock stars, and there was nothing. There was nothing
for the time,
on there.
Considering what they walked into, it was rock stars.
Dan had never head coached a game in his life.
No.
And he took State to number 1 for a second.
Right.
So and then you look at some of the other decisions.
Kiffin went like 21-2 on the way out.
Right.
Good Lord.
You look at
21-3.
look at Look at Napier. Okay, Napier's coach effect was every bit as good or better than Lane at FAU, right? But Lane had been portable, and Lane had some Power 4 experience, but nothing at FAU and USC and Tennessee said this is what was going to happen at Ole Miss. Right? Nothing that Napier did at Louisiana, because I parsed through Napier a ton, said he was going to fall on his face by minus a game and a half a year at Florida. He was over plus 3 games a year at Louisiana. But he hadn't done it anywhere else.
That's a good point. Dave Bartoo on the Out of Bounds show. Watch on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. Will H. is a big Ole Miss fan. He says, give Lebby an extension. Best thing that ever happened to Ole Miss. We'll be back in a second. We are the Out of Bounds show, 105.9 The Zone ESPN. The blue plate today at Martin's in Livingston is ribs. They started smoking them about 4 a.m. this morning. Shirt on. He had a Florida Gators pullover on. So if you're watching on YouTube, go to Out of Bounds Sports. Bartoo's got on a Dak, which I forgot we had that jersey, Dak Prescott jersey, and Out of Bounds, really cool Out of Bounds hat.
It is my blue and with orange tint trucker hat.
That's a bottle cap.
Yeah.
It's our bottle cap hat.
It's a beer cap.
Red, white, and blue.
It's a beer cap.
That's right. It's cold
Not
beer
a bottle cap.
and some good music on the back patio with some ribs on the grill. That's exactly what it is. Thank you. Bartoo on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line, but he's live with us. Jackson Meadows Straight Funk with us too. We ordered a pizza yesterday, wood-fired pizza from Taste Italian Kitchen.
Bomb.
For lunch. Jackson went and got Bartoo from the airport. I went and met with someone real quick. And then we had a meat lovers pizza from Taste Italian Kitchen, and it was fabulous.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
It was good.
Yeah, that's right. Chef Craig with Taste Italian Kitchen in Ridgeland and Starkville. Okay. What'd you just tell me that you were looking at?
Oh, we were talking about coach effect.
Right.
And so I asked the system, can you give me the worst self-inflicted wound coaching hires?
Yes, worst self-inflicted.
Right? And what I mean by that is who hired a guy with a bad coach effect at his last stop? Right? Who was bad and they hired him anyways? Right? I mean, so and then on top of that, not only how bad was he worse at your program? So it spit out, and I just said Power 4.
Yeah.
Just because I don't need a big old list.
Yeah.
We're excluding G6 out of everything now. They're out of our playoffs and they're out of our rankings. Okay. But it popped up 6 programs, and 3 of them are connected to the SEC. So let's start with number 6.
Yeah, let's
start with number 6.
Like it.
Now this happened pre-SEC, but at his last job, Mac Brown was minus 1.92 games coach effect. And North Carolina hired him anyways, and he dropped a minus 1.14. So he was bad at Texas. I know he won a national title, but folks, look at those last few years. After that national title, just absolutely cratered. And then at North Carolina, he couldn't find any mojo. So at North Carolina, he went 43 and 30 before finally being let go, only to have Bill Belichick replace him and literally drop the single worst Power 4 coach effect of 2025 last year. So at number 6, self-inflicted wound, North Carolina going back to the bucket and bringing home Mac Brown to retire him in Chapel Hill with a underwhelming effort for the Tar Heels. Number 5, no surprise. This is SEC to SEC. South Carolina going and getting Will Muschamp. Will gets fired from Florida. And actually at Florida, not too bad overall. He
had that one year he went 11-2, which was crazy. They were great on defense, not really good on offense, but were able to.
Yeah,
maybe like Vanderbilt last year, they went 10-2, and you said offensively they were amazing, and defensively which is Clark Lee's specialty. They weren't good. Sometimes you can do that.
Well, you do that Larry Fedora, find lightning in a bottle.
Right.
Once every 4 years, boom. Right. As a fan, that's the worst thing.
And 11-2 can skew your record, even if you're not good for 4 years, like Muschamp. It can make it look a lot. It can dress it up.
Yeah, but so his average was minus one game a season at Florida. Muschamp, right? At Florida, right? And to give you some perspective, Lane for his entire career is plus one game. Dan is plus one game.
And that is huge.
Right. So you're talking about a 2-win loss difference in expectations at Florida. But he was a minus 1.08 at Florida. So South Carolina said, we ride. We're gonna run this back. Will's gonna be a different guy.
Let's go.
He was a different guy. He wasn't a minus 1.08. He was a minus 1.62 with a 27-32 record at South Carolina. Mr. Tanner, you did not need to take that risk, and it burned you on that one.
So Muschamp was 27-32 at South Carolina. He followed Spurrier.
Yeah.
And even though it got away from Spurrier right at the end, he won 11 games 3 years in a row at South Carolina, which they'll never do again.
Yeah, and unfortunately set the bar of expectation beyond anything. But yeah, so number 5 was Will Muschamp. Number 4, a little boring here. Nebraska hiring Mike Riley from Oregon State. Mike Riley was negative coach effect at Oregon State. Nebraska brought him in, and basically his time at Nebraska was equal to Will's time at South Carolina.
Okay.
Minus 1.72. Not very good. Got fired at 18-18. Number 3, Mike Loxley.
Your favorite guy.
Oh my gosh. So at New Mexico, this is amazing. At New Mexico, Maryland hired a guy. I hope everybody's sitting down because this will take your breath away. Mike Loxley was minus 4.10 games.
Dang.
A year?
A year.
What?
Per year. His average at New Mexico was literally as bad as Bill Belichick last year. Just hot garbage. And Maryland turns around.
I got that.
And here's the thing. At Maryland, he's minus 2 games a year.
Garbage.
Okay. That's awful.
He's awful. He is 30-42, and they keep extending this dude. I mean, it is bat-ass crazy. I would love to know what drugs they take in Maryland because they are awesome. Awesome.
How long's he been there?
Yeah.
What are they doing? I mean, I ask what's going on at Starkville with the football program, which makes no sense. But what is Maryland doing?
Now they're
minus 2 games coach effect a year. He's 30-42, and they're like, "We'll sign you up again."
He is the worst coach in the Big Ten.
Okay,
he is the worst coach in the Big Ten.
Worst coach in the Big Ten.
It's not even close. He is
Fail.
unequivocally the worst coach in the Big Ten. These last two, number 2, this one warms my heart because I remember when they hired this turd, and I went on air in Oregon saying this is a turd hire, and this guy is terrible, and they shouldn't have hired him. And Duck fans just lost their S. I mean, lost it. And he proceeded to post a minus 0.64. Not terrible, right? But a minus 0.64, easily negative in his career at Oregon. And then Florida State said, "Nah, Willie Taggart, why don't you come on over here, bud? We'll take your garbage." And at Florida State was worse than minus 3 games a year, 11-3. And that was the beginning of the end in terms of my opinion of setting Florida State back to the Stone Ages, hiring a guy that was bad at South Florida, bad at Oregon, and even worse at Florida State.
Dave Bartoo, live in studio. Check out the YouTube channel, Out of Bounds Sports.
We still got number 1.
All right, number 1 on the other side. Greg Sankey wasn't real happy yesterday. The league decided to go to 9 conference games, but the college football playoff did not expand in time to line up with that. So I think the thinking was we'll have 16 teams in. And we don't. We have 12 teams again, and we'll see if it goes to 16, 20, or 24 going forward. Who knows what Fox and Disney and the Big Ten and SEC are going to agree to.
Right? How big
I mean,
is the bag?
they're both partners. I mean, it's Fox and I don't know if it's versus each other necessarily, because I think they have conference calls all the time and they're cordial and they're negotiating, but it's the SEC and Fox and Disney SEC. Did I say that right? Big Ten, Fox, and the SEC wants 16 and the Big Ten wants 24. I'm actually surprised that the Big Ten is so adamant about 24, but anyway. And I think the calendar gets real weird on 24 teams, but I guess they'll.
I want it divisible by eight. I want everybody to have an equal schedule. No buys, none of that stuff. You know, the buys drive me crazy.
Right.
I don't think it's necessary at all. And so if it's going to expand, man, I mean, it's just, you want to talk about not taking your time. I mean, we went from 2 to 12. Now we're at 16. It's just like, can we calm down and try to, let things play out a little bit and see how this all works out? Especially with the portal and player flux and everything. I just feel like we're jumping the gun for money.
Yeah, but say money doesn't
Right?
Right.
Jumping the
So it
money,
came down
jumping
to
the gun for money and inclusion. And I just don't like that path of just rapid fire expansion when one thing goes bad or not your way, which, it doesn't seem to be going anybody's way because nobody's getting enough teams in. Well, quite frankly, I don't need no 8-4 teams in. It's about as fun as watching NFL playoff games with, 8 and 9 teams in them.
All right. Dave Bartoo on the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, brought to you by the Men's Clinic in Madison. If you're low testosterone, if you've lost your sex drive, you want to go to the Men's Clinic in Madison or the Men's Clinic in Brandon. Dr. Mike Manning and Dr. Cliff Adams, themanthing.com, and they'll walk you through the aging process. And they want you to be healthy and active and all that stuff. Themanthing.com, the Men's Clinic in Madison, the Men's Clinic in Brandon. All right. Bartoo was finishing up the worst self-inflicted wound by teams where they hire a bad coach who's already proven that he can't win.
And then he goes and makes it work. So he comes and sets a bigger fire at your program.
Right. So he went through 2 through 6. Who is the number one worst self-inflicted wound?
Come on. We all know, right? We all know It's an SEC team. We knew that going into the segment. But I don't think we realized how bad it was. I didn't even realize it till it just spit it out because they went out and hired a guy that for his career, he was minus 0.98 games. Minus 2 games a year. And folks, that's horrific. I mean, that is bottom 15th percentile since 2010. That is a bad coach at minus 2 games a year. Yet, Arkansas went out and hired Chad Morris anyways, and he dropped a minus 4.85 a year.
Coach effect. Losing 4 games he shouldn't have.
Yeah. He was 4-20. 4-20.
So he's 4-20 at Arkansas.
Yeah. Overall.
Okay. Levy is 7-18. All right. So Chad Morris was 4. He only lasted. Yeah, that's 2
seasons.
Years.
That's
right.
2 seasons. But see, with the thing is minus 188 at SMU. This is a bad guy to begin with. I mean, really,
that's right.
Really bad. I mean, the only hire that was worse was Mike Loxley at Maryland. I mean, but it literally Arkansas. That is the single biggest self-inflicted coaching hire wound in the last 16 years, and it is just I mean, even when I asked about it, I mean, it just says right here, Chad Morris is the definitive case of how you create a self-inflicted program wound with coaching. That's it. He's a definitive case, and there's just nobody like him. And thank God it was Arkansas, right?
Yeah. Okay. So Chad Morris is number one worst self-inflicted wound hire since 2010.
2010.
Okay. He went 4-20 at Arkansas in 2 years. Let's see what Dexter has to say. And by the way, if you've got a question, we'll do Ask Bartoo. If you have a question, hit us up on the Dancing Rabbit Golf text line, 601-885-3776. Dexter says Chad Morris was style with no substance. Never understood that hire.
He was also with no coaching. Jeez. I mean, the guy couldn't coach. And
now Dabo just hired him as the OC at Clemson.
To be truthful, though, as an OC, he's had some good years. Okay. He's a much, much better play caller than he is a head coach.
Okay.
He should never be head coach of anything. Not even your Pee Wee League. All right. It's just not good.
Not even 5th and 6th grade football?
No. It just can't be good.
I love it. I've got one more.
But with Clemson, they haven't solved the defensive problem either.
Not since Venables, really, right?
No, actually, that's when it fell off. You look at when Venables left, the entire program went down a full tier.
He promoted from within.
Yeah.
Which drives you crazy. You were funny last night at dinner.
Yeah, and Dabo is trying to... he's trying to justify that the program hasn't slipped because of his record in fourth quarter closing it out.
Oh my God.
And I want to go. Every FBS coach who's leading in the fourth quarter wins 88% of the time, dude. You're giving us a number that everybody has. Where he has slipped is he has lost control of the football game. He doesn't have good offense and defensive balance. His momentum and game control prior to 2021. When he had peak momentum in a football game from 2010 to 2020, he was 110-1.
Damn.
He generated peak momentum at the level of Saban and Kirby and Ryan Day. He was absolute, and he closed at their level too. He was absolutely super elite at generating and closing. But since then, it is down about 30%. And so he's down he's gone from Dabo running with the elites to now he is Dabo with Sark and Brian Kelly and that second tier of head coaches.
Okay. All right. Bartoo on the Out of Bounds show. We got about a minute before we go in our last segment of 24 minutes. Scott from Philly. This is Scott from Philly. Hard to believe somebody is worse than Levy. Hell State. Okay. So there you go. Scott's from where we'll be today.
I don't have a comp for Jeff either. I asked the system to give me a comp and just compare 2024, 25 to all coaches, G6, Power 4. Mm-hmm. And there's really nothing out there that it said Tony Sanchez is the closest one because both Tony and Jeff, super struggled 2024, but they made massive improvements in 2025. Jeff was only -1 game coach effect last year, so was Tony. Both of them were -4 the year before. So
Charlie Weiss.
This is really
Where's Tony Sanchez? Ottawa Rough Riders? We'll be back in a second. Bartoo will answer that question on Jeff Levy. Woo! Show is brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue, the official healthcare provider of the Out of Bounds show. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. We're also brought to you by Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. Text line has been great this morning, 601-885-3776. And War Eagle Rich says, War Damn Bartoo. Great show today, guys. I would ask for info on Auburn, but I'm not excited about the new staff. So not knowing is better sometimes. War Damn Eagle.
Oh, man. All right. Well, thanks. Something actually we will tomorrow when we're at the Dancing Rabbit, the Golden Moon, we're going to try to get through as many coaching, not just profiles, but projections on win-losses with Coach Effect. So we'll hit on goals and what we expect out of Auburn this year. But I think the big thing is when you have guys going from G6 to Power 4, just take a game and a half off of your expectations right off the top because that first year is usually a little bit more of a struggle.
Okay.
If your name's not Kurt Signetti.
Okay. All right. So, Kurt Signetti. Good grief. All right, we're going hot seat now. We're going to take a look at the hot seat. The Out of Bounds show is brought to you by Eye Care Professionals. If you need cataract surgery, LASIK surgery, routine eye exams, go see Dr. Kirk Jeffries and the team on Lakeland Drive. 2 locations on Lakeland Drive, one in Jackson and one Flowood Belmead. Cataract surgery, LASIK surgery, or you just want to make sure that you've got the right glasses, contacts, prescription. Eye Care Professionals and Dr. Kirk Jeffries' team. All right. So 2026 hot seat. I'm going to let you.
Right. And this isn't me.
Right.
This is not Dave going, who do I think is on the hot seat? Went back to the Coach Effect database and said, okay, start mapping out guys that should be on the hot seat relative to their Coach Effect. Okay. And I said, just focus on guys with experience and or 3 or more years. I'm not interested in Bill Belichick being on there because he was the worst coach in Power 4 last year. Okay.
Okay.
Even though that puts that puts his foot on the first step of being on the hot seat. But to me, that guy isn't there. But the guys we just got talked about making self-inflicted wounds.
Right.
Right. And one of the first guys that popped up is an ideal self-inflicted wound scenario. Scott Frost was horrible at Nebraska.
Okay.
Okay. In fact, the last 10 years, Nebraska has the worst composite coach effect of any Power 4 team. The last 10 years, Nebraska has the worst composite coach effect of any team. You want to talk about fans that have suffered the most the last 10 years performing under talent, it is the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Wow.
And Scott Frost was absolutely in the middle of that, yet UCF said, come on back. Let's go try to catch that lightning in a bottle again in the AAC, even though we're not in the AAC anymore. We just went from the number 1 talent in the conference when you were here to the worst. So Frost, right? We know he was bad at Nebraska, but his time at UCF is 2 bad negative coach effect years. Last year was minus 3.32. He was terrible last year.
So when Scott Frost was there first, they were in G5. Now they're in the Big 12.
Yep.
Okay.
Right. And when they're there as G5, this goes back to, we talked about like the text saying compare John David Baker to Lane and the talent. Well,
right.
at UCF, you're talking about the program that had the number 1 talent profile along with Cincinnati in that conference. Guess what? They won all the football games. Now they're both in the bottom 4 in talent in their conferences in the Big 12, and they're losing all their football games. It kind of goes hand in hand. It's really hard to punch above your talent level consistently. You either have to raise the talent,
right,
or you have to be a really good head coach. Ideally, you do both. We saw Dan raise, high tides raise all ships, right? So we saw the recruiting with Dan come up, win totals came up. Lane, recruiting at Ole Miss comes up, and right now, arguably, they're starting the season a top 10 recruiter.
So Bartoo has something called range-bound recruiting, and most teams don't go up or down more than 4 spots. So they are who they are forever and ever. What Bartoo is referencing is when Dan walked in, Mississippi State was around 37th.
30s, yeah, mid-high 30s, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And when he left, they were a composite 25th recruiter. That is rare that you break out of that 4 spots up or down. Dan went 10 plus. I think it was 12 or maybe even more. But the bottom line is he moved up recruiting from composite 35 to 38 to 25th.
Right. And then Lane took Ole Miss from the high teens, low 20s, into the low teens. And right now, arguably, Pete Golding should be expected to win 10, 11 games with this talent. So,
So composite recruiting where Bartoo, he said this in our off-air show just on YouTube yesterday. Ole Miss composite recruiting is top 10 if you count the portal and high school.
Yeah, when you blend them both and take the best of all that.
Okay.
So I think Lane has raised the bar,
right,
and then he coached it up. Dan raised the bar,
right,
then he coached it up. Now a different guy to look at is Stoops at Kentucky. he raised the bar of recruiting. The recruiting is much better at
Big
Kentucky than it was.
You said that they were in the high 30s,
Yeah,
like 38th, 39th, and he brought them right where Dan was in that 23,
But he's
24,
not a
25.
good head coach,
Right.
so they didn't
Dan
win
is.
more.
Right.
You know, he brought the talent in, but he wasn't good enough to elevate the win-loss ratio
Right.
with the talent. You know, and you know, so that's something you got to look at there. So with Frost at UCF, totally different situation. Same school, but the talent level relative to the schedule has completely been offset. But Frost, coming off of his bad career at Nebraska, now he's starting off terrible at UCF. The system says that is absolutely a hot seat. Another guy nobody's surprised with, Dave Aranda. Dave Aranda's been at Baylor for a while. His career coach effect is nearly minus one game a year. And he's been there for what, 4 years, 5 years? When did LSU win their title and he left?
19.
19.
Because he actually beat Kiffin in the Sugar Bowl in 2021 with Matt Corral or something like that. Kind of crazy that happened. Yeah, so Aranda's been there like 6 years.
Yeah, so
he's going on year 7.
Yeah, so we're talking about a guy who's averaging one game under replacement, average head coaching for 6 years.
Yeah,
You know,
it's Baylor.
Usually that doesn't mean
Outside of Art
renewal.
Briles, they've never won.
Right.
It's like Purdue. Outside of Jeff Brom,
Yeah. And,
they've been god awful.
yeah. And here's
You mentioned Rutgers.
Here's an interesting one. Here's an SEC one. The only one from the SEC that popped up. And the reason it popped up is last year he was almost minus 3 games last year. Just wasn't good. Minus 2.69. Now he revamped the entire offensive staff, brought in Kendall Briles, brought in Randy Clements, but Shane Beamer for his entire career is still negative coach effect, albeit it's minus 0.17. But that's basically saying he's just been an average coach relative to the schedule and talent for his entirety at South Carolina. And at South Carolina, that's not good enough. And so the system's saying if we get another minus 1.5, minus 2, minus 2.5, the tide's going to go out too far for him. And that just might be enough to really kick it over. But he
upgraded. He's got his best. Mississippi State plays at South Carolina week 3. They also catch South Carolina and Beamer with his best OC-DC pairing since he's been there with Kendall Briles and Clayton White.
Yeah, he hasn't been able to get the OC right from the get-go. When he hired Marcus Satterfield, that was the first red flag is you don't know how to hire offense. Right there.
Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, so that was the hot seat.
You having fun yet? That was the low end of the hot seat.
Levy's on it, but
he's not. He's
not
on
your computer algorithm of Claude or whatever you're on.
We have 2 consecutive years of negative coach effect.
Right.
But we have positive progression.
Where are you dead man walking? Was he dead man walking at -4?
No, he wasn't. Awful close to it.
Okay.
Dead man walking is really
-5.
It's -5, and it's also guys that have previous experience.
Okay.
Right. He's a rookie. Those guys get a little bit more of a pass there. But the 4 guys on the top of it, Dion, at Colorado, one of the worst. His worst year was last year. He can't repeat that again. He needs to bounce back bad.
He's going to get fired.
And a couple of guys. I'm not sure. I'm not sure there.
That's true.
We'll see.
How committed are they really?
But
I mean,
although
they're paying him 8.
Here's your soap opera with Colorado, though. Here's your soap opera with Colorado. Dion hired Brendan Marion as his offensive coordinator. Brendan Marion was head coach at Sac State last year, ran a really good offense for 2 years at UNLV. Brendan wants to be head coach again.
Who did Brendan Marion?
Yeah.
Who did he coach under at UNLV?
He had coached under Barry Odom at UNLV.
And they went 19-8.
Yeah.
Is that pretty good?
Like that. Oh, it was great. And the offense was really good. And then Sac State hired him.
Okay.
And then he quit Sac State to become the offensive coordinator at Colorado. But we all know that former head coaches want to be head coaches again.
Right.
So that's a lion in the den. Two male lions in the den don't live with each other. Doesn't work. Okay.
Mario a few years ago.
Right. When he brought in Charlie Strong, I even told him, dude, that is just to let you know, if that guy sees that he can't become a head coach again, it's going to be a problem.
Right.
And it became a problem. He fired him. He got rid of that issue quick. And so I think with Colorado, you have a Brendan Marion that wants to be a head coach again. And if Deion's still weak, could he get Deion pushed out and replace Deion himself as the head coach?
Did he do a good job at Sac State?
He's all right.
Okay.
He's all right.
So you're not
It's
sure about this guy yet?
No, I didn't know. I don't know anything about that. I just know the aspirations and the goals. The top three, no surprise. Loxley. I mean, he shouldn't even be there.
Right.
He's terrible. Luke Fickell, decline.
That's at Wisconsin.
Yeah, but I think he's going to bounce back this year.
Do you?
I do think Wisconsin's going to bounce back this year. The tough thing for Luke is I think they just brought in a new AD, and you and I both know what happens when new ADs come in. They want their man. Air quotes.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go get my guy.
Got to go get my guy.
Gosh, that never works, it seems like. And then the obvious one, Mike Norvell. Just a massive collapse. Massive collapse.
I feel like it was just a minute ago. He was 11-0 going into the last game and loses his quarterback, and they can't get it going.
And we're talking about a 2-year collapse. We're looking at minus 4 point, almost 5 games over the last 2 years. Last year was minus 5.67. It was just wicked for him last year. So the last 2 years have actually been really, really bad. He has a 4-year streak of negative coach effect. 4 consecutive years.
Good grief.
And this is after smoking it at Memphis. Right? I mean, this guy was absolutely hammering it as Memphis.
So he can.
Right? It's weird.
And he went undefeated at Florida State one year.
Right. It's weird. And so you got a guy that was awesome at Memphis, is not doing it at Florida State. A couple other guys, right? This is like a Billy Napier, awesome at Louisiana. Couldn't figure it out at Florida. Heck, Hugh. Look at Hugh. He was bloody awesome at Liberty. And he was really good at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And I thought he was close last year. I mean, that was a top 15 scoring efficiency defense. They just couldn't find the quarterback. They couldn't get anybody to play on the offensive side. And they lost a lot of close games last year. So I guess we're going to see how time's going to tell in terms of pulling the trigger on 3 years instead of letting it go to 4. But clearly, Mike Norvell, just in the numbers, this guy is on a 4 consecutive year negative coach effect streak.
So Florida State could open up.
Yes. Will, we going to bet on that? Over under. You got to figure he's not going to get a 5th negative coach effect year and survive. So I don't know where he needs to be.
Who's that?
Where Mike Norvell needs to be positive coach effect. I should actually look him up on the projections.
I don't have their schedule.
Oh no! Just give me a second here. All
right, I can reset. Out of bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Brought to you by the Men's Clinic in Madison and the Men's Clinic in Brandon. They will help you through the aging process. And themanthing.com, Dr. Mike Manning and Dr. Cliff Adams at the Men's Clinic in Madison and the Men's Clinic in Brandon. Check out their site today, themanthing.com. Ben Chandler's on the text line says, James Franklin equals Mark Richt.
We just said James Franklin equals Dan Mullen.
We did. Dan Mullen's twin is James Franklin, and James Franklin's twin is Dan Mullen. Lane Kiffin's is Lincoln Riley. So we'll see how that looks this year. Lincoln, I guess, Southern Cal hadn't done anything amazing. I know he finished number 1 in recruiting last year in high school. He sounded like 35 guys or something. But we'll see if he can get it, quote unquote, done in the Big Ten on the West Coast. Right now, Oregon is the team out there. But Bartoo does not like Oregon's OC. Will Stein left Oregon to be the head coach at Kentucky, and Bartoo's got their new OC ranked dead last in the Big Ten. And we'll see what Lincoln Riley does at USC and so on.
Do you hear? I'm still trying to find this in the ACC. Did you hear Will Stein's quote yesterday at Media Days?
Yeah, me.
Right.
Why are we going to win? Me.
You know something? And he is exactly right. He is exactly right. Do you know how bad his OCDC combination is?
How bad?
The worst in the SEC. Dude, he just hired Joe Sloan. Do you see LSU?
You love Joe Sloan at
LSU's
LSU.
offense last year? You see that?
It was awful.
Right? And his DC hasn't had a good defense ever.
Okay.
Ever.
Yes.
Ever. So if Kentucky wins, yes, it is 100% on Will Stein. But if he goes 2-10, it is 100% on Will Stein's coaching staff as well. If he somehow gets that coaching staff, I don't know, 4 wins, 5 wins. Oh my gosh, 6 wins. Yeah, coach of the year, baby. Look me up. Google it.
So they have the worst OCDC pairing in the SEC.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So they took that, I guess, from last year, Coleman Hutzler and Jeff Levy.
Coleman. Ooh, he who must not be named. That was a bad back-to-back Juju defense right there, man.
Yeah.
Woo!
Well, the fact that he got hired in the first place, he was a special teams coach. And then you had a new head coach who hired a special teams coach to be his DC and then brought him back for year 2. But yeah, I remember you text me on a Saturday last year about Joe Sloan, offensive coordinator at LSU. He was eventually let go during the season. But anyway, what was the dude's name? What was the quarterback's name? Nussmeier. Yeah. All right. Josh says on the text line, but Dan Mullen couldn't recruit. He's referencing what we were talking about earlier. Dan moved Mississippi State's composite recruiting up about 10 to 12 spots.
Yeah.
Which doesn't happen. Nobody moves. 99% of teams stay.
He moved Florida's as well.
And he moved Florida's.
Yeah. People, they were trying to find out, people were trying to figure out what fell off the cliff at Florida, and we'll never know.
Right.
Honestly, we'll never know. And I think it was something, to me, it was something internal because I looked at the numbers. The one thing I found in Florida that I've actually started tracking is the 5th week of that season, the false starts in Florida at the Gators skyrocketed. It was like the whole focus was lost. And so one of the things that I have the system do is it tracks false starts during the season to see when teams start giving up. So there's 2 things on the offense. The only thing that really kind of tells you what's going on is if false starts start going up, your team is losing focus. Okay. The other thing, here's your big red flag, SEC fans, when you're watching games, delay of game. Okay. Delay of game is a big one from the standpoint. It just says you start seeing delay of game penalties. You start seeing timeouts used for delay of game to not hit them. That is saying over the last 16 years, that is telling you that this offense is not good and is not going to be producing well.
Okay.
It is a really big red flag when you start getting delay of games. And watch if your team starts the false start train. If it starts going 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 a game, that team has really, really lost its focus and will to try to win.
Okay. All right. Out of bounds. ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Bartoo and I will head to Pearl River Resort a little bit later. And, we nominated you to, so Pearl River Resort, we didn't take you there last time, but they have a water park.
Oh.
And we want you to go down one of the slides. I've got a bathing suit for you. We want you to go down one of the slides and I can video it.
Oh, is this one of the trapdoor slides?
No, this is just a water park. It's a great water park. Wendy used to take the kids there all the time.
Oh, my kids always loved, there was one in Boise, Idaho. It's about 8 hours from us. And it's got a cool trapdoor one where it feels like the first, second you're just free falling.
He was there. Jackson, weren't you there on Saturday?
Yeah, I sure was.
Did you do any of the slides?
I sure did.
Okay.
My niece's it was her first time to ever ride a big slide.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so
that's always fun when you're a kid.
It was fun.
I mean, whether you walk in Magic Kingdom or Universal, or whether you walk in a water park and you're like, whoa.
Time of their life.
Heck yeah.
Dippin' Dots, man, we were in there.
Yeah, my kids, they would
All
talk
about
about
Dippin' Dots.
the Dippin' Dots at
What's all about.
Geyser Falls. Yeah, so they got a really cool water park. It's
Yes, sir.
right across the street from Dancing Rabbit.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh,
you just
okay.
can't quite see it.
Oh yeah.
But it's really nice.
Oh, it's nice.
I mean,
Nice.
it's
Yeah.
fun. Like I said, my kids loved it growing up. So would you do that? Are you going to go down the water slide?
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right.
I got no
great.
problem.
All right. I'll get I guess I'll get the water.
No,
No, I can do it from the side?
Yeah, you can video from the
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
I'll show you one of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Norvell, an average coach.
Here we go. We got one
One
minute.
more
Nugget.
hit. One more hit. I see that. We got one more minute. So an average coach
Okay.
at Florida State, any average coach this year projection is 8-4. Any average coach. Okay? So if he wants to be plus coach effect, dude needs to be 9-3. 9-3. Now his coach effect right now, because of the slide, he is ranked 90th out of 119 coaches in college football right now that have a grade. He is since 2010 with more than 3 years. He is 155th out of 272.
All right. I see your graphic here. And Jeff Levy's ranked 129th out of 132 active coaches.
No, it's not. It's 111 out of 119. Come on.
No, but your other one is 129 out of the graphic that you sent me.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we can discuss tomorrow. We'll be live from Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. Bartoo is going to go down one of the water slides at Geyser Falls. We're excited about going to Philip M's. We'll be live tomorrow from Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. Have a great day and enjoy the ribs at Martin's in Livingston. For Bartoo and Straight Funk,